Yes, hello guys. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is CPA MAKAN. I welcome you to my free revision CASNEP syllabus, specifically on quantitative analysis. So welcome to question 6 and 7, revision quantitative analysis, December 2024, CPA and CIFA. My request is that if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, kindly hit onto that particular bell so that you may be getting notification immediately the video is ready, so that you are able to learn more and you'll be able to pass your exams without any problem. So today I'm handling the two topics or two questions coming from different topics. The first topic is about the first topic is about linear programming using the Simplex method, which looks to be a bit difficult, but I'm going to use very simple skills for you to answer that question right. Number 2 is about input-output analysis. Input-output analysis. So welcome and enjoy. Kindly subscribe, share, and use this particular result. So first, I always encourage you to visit CASNEP website, download the past papers. Once you have downloaded the past papers, you'll be able to follow my revision without any problem. So let's go to question 6b. Question 6b. Question 6b reads, a factory produces two products, product A and B. The company wants to determine how many units of each product to produce in order to maximize profit. The production of each product is subject to two resources, constraints: machine labor, machine hours, and labor hours. The profit for each unit of product A is 40 shillings and 30 shillings for product B. Each unit of product A requires 2 hours of machine time, while each unit of product B requires 1 hour of machine time. The company has a maximum of 100 machine hours available. Each unit of product A requires 1 hour of labor, and each unit of product B requires 2 hours of labor. The company has a maximum of 80 labor hours available. Roman 1. Formulate the above problem as linear programming problem. 4 marks. Roman 2. Determine the optimal solution using the Simplex method. So this is the question from CASNEP, last sitting syllabus, December 2024. So question 7b. Now let's work out on Roman 1. Roman 1 is about linear programming problem. First, they are saying there are two products. So we can say products here, products A and products B. This product A and product B need two resource constraints. So meaning for you to produce 1 unit of A, you need to use 2 resource constraints. Also to produce 1 unit of B, you need 2 resource constraints. And which are these resource constraints? We are told there is machine hours here. Machine hours and labor hours. Let's read one by one. Each unit of product A requires 2 hours of machine time. Each unit of product A requires 2 hours of machine time, while each unit of product B, this one, requires 1 hour of machine time. Then the company has a maximum of 100 units hours available, meaning for these machine hours, their available hours are 100 hours in total. Therefore, you don't know how many units were produced for A and B by using 100 hours. You don't know. Then each unit of product A, each unit of product A requires 1 hour of labor, and each product of B requires 2 hours of labor, and there was a total of 80 hours. You can see So this is the constraint resource. These are the constraint resource, that is machine hours, and so they are limited. So out of this, you don't know how many units were produced when 100 hours were used from machine. And then for 80 hours, you don't know how many units of product A and B from labor hours. For that case, we can now say let X and Y be units of A and B. So that now X units times 2 hours plus Y units, 1 unit times 1 hour is equals to or less than 100. So that one is now 2x plus y equals to or less than 100. Labor hours, you say x units times 1 plus y units times 2 equals to 80 or less than 80 hours. So you say now x plus 2y equals or less than 80. Correct? Then this x and y, these units here cannot be negative. Therefore, we introduce what we call non-negativity, which is now x and y are a non-negativity, meaning it can only be you have not produced, which is you equate it with 0, or you have produced more than 1, more than 0. So it means 120 or whatever the number, you get it like this. So these three here are what we call what? Subject constraints. Then we have an objective function from the equation. They are saying objective function. We normally say Z equals to 40 shillings per unit of X plus 30 units of Y. So you would have now answered Roman 1 without any problem. Roman 2, using simplex method. I want you to pay attention carefully here. This is where we shall be having a lot of computation, and you get your calculator ready, and I will take you through simple steps to come up with this. First, because these are inequalities here, we need to convert them into equations. And by converting this into equations, because we are not using graphical method, we are using simplex method, we do what we call, we add a variable. So if we say 2x plus y plus something should be equals to x, that something we are adding here is what we call a slack. So therefore, for me to convert this into equation, it will be 2x plus y plus slack 1, which is s1, should give me now 100. The other one is now x plus 2y plus slack 2, should give you what? 80. The first slack will go to the first inequality. The second slack will go to the second equality. Now, objective function here, we do not need to introduce the slack because we have equal signs already here. So what we do, we make this side 0. So we transfer what is on the right to the left to be negative. So it will be now negative 40, negative 30 plus z. Your answer is 0. I hope you are following me slowly. Then from here, once you have this information, we now develop a table. We come up with the table 1. We can call it table 1. So we say x, y, s1, s2, and z. Where is it coming from? From the first equation, we have s1. From the second equation, we have s2. And from the third equation, we have z. From here now, we introduce now the coefficients of these variables here. So coefficient for x is 2. In the first equation first, go with the first equation. 1 here, 1 is also there. So in the first equation, do we have S2? No. In the second equation, do we have Z? No. We put 0. In the second equation, do we have x1? Yes, we have 2. Do you have s1? No, we put 0. Do Do you have S2? Yes. Do you have 0 Z? No. Then we now say that is those are constraints. You see how I'm separating them? Then I bring now my objective function here, which is negative 40, negative 30. Do we in the third equation, do we have S1? No. S2? No. Z? Yes, which is 1. And the answer is, so in this case now, I introduce another column like that. So in this column here, I will have 100, and here I will have 80, and here I will have 0. Then I close. So I've introduced my table now. This is my first table. From this table, I want to learn 3 things. First one is what they call key column. The second one is what they call key row. The third one is what they call key element. So these three information statements are going to help us to answer the question on simplex. How do we identify the key column? For you to identify the key column, go to the objective function here. Check here. Now, on this objective function, see which one is the most negative value. The most negative value is 40. Therefore, this 40 here lies on the first one column. So therefore, this one becomes your key column. Once you have identified your key column, the next step is to come up with the key row. How do you get the key row? Before we go to the key row then, these constraints here, you can see they have values 80, 100, and 80. And for that reason, we need now to say these values, these equals here, should be divided by the elements on this part where we have your main what? Your main column, which is 2 and 1. So therefore, 100 divided by 2 is 50. And what you are doing is what you call, you are getting what you call ratio. 80 divided by 1 is 80. Now we are not touching the profit function. We are just working on this one. Once you have done that, check the ratio. Which one is the smallest ratio or the least ratio? That is 50. So then you say this 50 lies on your first row, and that one becomes your key row. So we have I have my key column and my key row. Where my key column and my key row intersect, that element in between them is what we call the key element. Where is my key element now? My key element is 2. Once I have identified my key element now by use of key row and key column, that key element must be made 1. The question now, what am I supposed to do for me to make this 2 1? I have to divide by 2. Therefore, it means this one first row will be divided by a half or by 2. So you will multiply either by a half or you divide by 2. So in this case, I will be multiplying by a half this column here. So I will now say for row 1, I will take a half of row 1. So that now I will make 2 1. Okay? Now let's see what is going to happen. This is my first equation. Now I come now and divide. So a half of that gives me x now there, y, s1, s2, and z. Okay? Then when I divide this by that, it will give me 1. Divide that is 1, a half. Divide that is a half. This one will give you 0, 0. This one is giving me what? 50. Are you seeing that? Once you have done that, the second row and the third row, there is nothing we are doing with it. So what we copy those elements as they are. So you copy the first one is 1, 2, 0, 1, 0, and 80. I'm going slowly so that you understand me right. Then the third column I'm also copying as it is. Now class, the first row we have made it 1. Then the second, where we have the main column, we see this column here. We have made the first element 1, then the second element must be 0, and the third element must be 0. The question now here is, what am I supposed to do with this? So for me to make this one 0, this one here, my work is very simple. Therefore, what I'm supposed to do is very simple. I will now say, okay, this column here, I want to make this 0. So I will say it will be 1 minus 1. I will get 0. So it will be for me to get row 2, it will be row 2 minus 1, then you multiply by row 1. Why? Row 1 is where we had our key element here. So therefore, if I say row 2, which is 1 here, minus 1 times row 1, the element on the first just adjacent up there is 1. So it will give me what? 0. Therefore, it means, in this case, this one will be 0. So therefore, that is how I'm supposed to work out that. Then come to the second. What am I supposed to do for me to make this 0? Class, what am I supposed to do to make that one 0? I'm supposed to add. So I will say, for me to operate on row 3, it should be row 3 minus, so not minus, but I'm adding 40, because R3 is negative 40 plus positive 40. Then where is my key element? It is in the first row. So I will say R1. Once I do this, you can see what is going to happen. It will be, if you press now your calculator very well, you will find these figures. It will be, for example, let me deal with the first one, with the last one, this Roman, this column, this row 4. It will be negative 40 plus 40 times R1, which is 1, will give you 0. You come here, negative 40, negative 30 plus 40 times R. R there is a half. You get the answer. 0 plus 40 times R1. R1 is here. You get the answer. 0, which is this, plus 40 times R1, which is this one, you get the answer. Then 1 here, plus 40, R1 is this one, you get the answer. Then 0, okay, 0 here, plus 40 times R1, you get the answer. The same applies to row 2, which is R2, which is 1, minus 1 times R1, 1 here. Then this one will be 2 minus 1 times R1, which is this one. 0 here, minus 1 into times R1, which is a half, you get the answer. 1 here, you put there, minus 1, R1, which is 0, you get the answer. Then 0 here, minus 1 times 0, you get the answer. Then here is 80 minus 1 times R1, which is 50, you get the answer. You can see. Now, when you work out that, you get this table. This is the table you get. When you substitute now, you will get 1 here, a half. Correct? If you substitute as I've said, you will get a half there. You will get 0 here. You will get 0 here. And you will get 100 here. you get Z here 0. Yes, you will get 0. We get here, if you subtract, you get this one. First of all, we have not touched, we don't touch this, so this one is a half as it is 0, 0, 50. So this column here, this row here, if you work out whatever I've explained here by saying row 2, which is 1, minus 1 times R1, which is 1, you will get 0, correct? So you get there 0. You substitute also, you get here 3 over 2. Then you subtract, you get negative 1 over 2, which is a half. You will get here 1. You will get here 0. And the answer here is 30. Then you go to the third column, which will give you 0. This 40 plus 40 will give you 0. Then you get negative 10. You get your 20. You get your 0. You get your 1. And you get your 2000. If you put your calculator very well, let me test this this last one. You see this one? Let me take you through that. It will be 0 here plus 40 into brackets R1, which is 50. So 40 times 50 is 2000. You can see how it is coming there. Okay? That is there. Now, is that the end of the table? No. Why? I still see the negative here. I have to work out until all the negatives on the objective function are eliminated. So therefore, from this one, I can see there is the most negative element for this one is negative, which is falling under column 2. What should I do now with column 2? This process will repeat itself like this one, whereby we are saying identify the most negative element on the objective function. Then look at it. Where is that most negative lying? Which column is that? In this case, it is in column 2. You can see column 2 here. So this is your column 2. From here, these elements here that are forming the constraints here, and we have the answers at the end, that is 50 and 30. You take now 50 divided by the elements you are seeing here. 30 divided by 2 over 3. You will get the answer. But this one will remain as it is. So let's now work out. If you say 50 divide, before that, let me copy the table. It is X, Y, S1, S2, Z. And then we have others. So 50 divided by a half, 50 divided by 1. 50 divided by 1 is 50, correct? Are you getting that, class? 50 divided by 1 is 50. This divided by this. Sorry. 50 divided by a half, you get 100. So, for that matter, I will have now my ratio here. 50 divided by a half is 100. 30 divided by 2 and a half, you get what? 20. You get your 20. Which one is the least ratio here? The least ratio falls in the second column, second row. So my second row, I have to locate it well. I can see there. Oh, then my key element is now here. For my first table, my key element was on the first row. But in this case now, my key element is on the second row. So what should I do with this row so that 3 over 4, 3 over 2 is 1? 3 over 2 is 1. So it means for this row 2 here, I will say, I will multiply by the reciprocal. So it will be 2 over 3R2. So if I multiply, 2 over 3 times 3 over 2, I will get 1. Therefore, it means this second row here will be multiplied by 2 over 3, all the elements. Now, for the first row and second row, I will copy as it is. Correct? I will copy as it is. So let me copy. The first one is 1, a half, 0, 0, and 50. The second column is now I'm dividing, I'm multiplying, right? Multiply this by 0. Multiply this by this. Multiply this by this. Multiply this by this. Multiply this by this. And multiply this by this. The answer you get for that matter will be 0, 1, -1 or under that, 2 over 3, 0, and 20. Now I'm seeing that the last one we are not doing anything, so we copy as it is. So I've made this one here, correct? Then what is remaining? I have to make this 0 and this. What should I do? For the first row, I will have to say row 1, this here, row 1 minus a half row 2. Why am I writing row 2? Row 2 is where my key element was. And therefore, if I say a half here, which is this, minus a half times row 2, which is this, I'm seeing here, it will give me 0. Therefore, I am working or adjusting on the first row, and I want also to adjust on the third row. So for the third row here, I will take R3. Yes, this one here. R3 equals to R3 plus 10 R2. R3 is this row here, made up of 0, -10, 20, 0, 1, and 2000. Sorry, this is 2000. So therefore, if I say R3, which is 0 here, plus 10 times R2, where there is my key element, 0, I will get the answer here. I will take R3, which is the second one, is -10, plus +10 times R2, which is this, I will get 1. Then I will take 20 here, plus 10 times R2, which is -1/3. I will get the answer. 0 here, correct? Plus 10 times R2, which is this one, I will get the answer. Then I will take 1 here, plus 10 times R2, which is 0, I will get the answer. Then the last one is 2000 here, plus 10 times R2, I will get the answer. So let's now work out that and get the answer. So the first row I'm multiplying the same. So when you now work out as I've explained, this is your answers. These are your answers. R1 is 1, okay, minus 1 minus a half times R. Which means you are working on this one to be 0. But you begin from, because we have other elements here now, to be 1 minus a half R2, which is this one. So 1 minus a half times 0 is 1. So when you multiply now, your answers you get as follows. You will get here 0, okay, sorry, x, y, s1, s2, z. So if you multiply as I've explained there, you'll get here 0, correct? You'll get here, no, you'll get here 1, because it will be 1 minus a half times r2, which is 0. So half times 0 is 0, so we'll be left with 1. Then a half minus a half times 1, you get 0. So when you multiply, you'll get 0 there. You get 2 over 3. And then you get negative 1 or a third. Then finally you get 0. And finally you get 40. These are the equals now. Then you go to the second. The second, there is nothing we are doing because we had already done that as the main one element. So it will be 0, 1, negative a third, 2 over 3, 0, and 20. Then the last one, when you substitute as I said, the way I've said here, let me repeat that. This I want you to understand from here so that everything will be flowing very well. Look at what I'm going to do. The first one, I'm saying row 3 will be equals to row 3 plus 10 r row 2. I'm here. But when I'm here, I am making this one 0. But I have to begin from here. So when I substitute this first one, it will be 0 plus 10 times r2, which is this one here, gives you 0. This is negative 10 plus 10 times r1, r2, which is 1 there. You get 0. You come here, you say now 20 plus 10 into r2, which is negative a third. You get the answer. Then you say now 0 plus 10 into, I'm now here, 0 plus 10 into 2 over 3, you get the answer. Then you say now 1 plus 10 into 0, you get the answer. Then you say now 2000 plus 10 into brackets 20, you get the answer. So when you substitute this using your calculator very well, your answers you get are as follows. For the last column, you get 10 here. You will get 0 here. You will get 50 here over 3. You will get 20 over 3. You will get 1. You get here 2,200. Class, when you are working out on this particular question, always leave your answer as fractions, not decimals, so that you get the correct answers at the end. So in this question, leave your answer in what? Fractions, so that you get such statements here. So therefore, what is your y? You follow now. We have x, y, and z already worked out. Y, x is here. Where do we have 1? It is here. Follow it to the end. You'll say, find it is what? 40. Y, where do we have 1? Y is here, 1 is there. So it is 20. Z, where do we have 1? It is here. Therefore, your answer is 2,200. So what does it mean? It means for the product X, for the product A, we need 40 units. And for products Y, we need 20 units for us to maximize profit at what? 2,200. If you want to prove this correct, come and substitute in your equation. Take this, the first one, that is 2x plus y. So now, if you substitute using equations correctly, is equals to 100. Confirm. This one is 2 times x, which is 40, plus y, which is 20, will give you what? This 80 plus that is 100. The second one is x plus 2y, it equals to 80. So x is how much? 40 plus 2y is 20. So 40 plus 40 is 80. It is coming. Then for the function here, function here. So in the function here, we will not use this one, but you come here. So it will be negative 40x minus 30y plus z equals to 0. Substitute. Negative 40 into x is 40 minus 30 into 20 plus 2200. Your answer is 0. Therefore, it means you have scooped your 12 marks without any problem. Thank you so much and welcome to our next revision that is purely on matrix input-output analysis question 7. Welcome and have a wonderful time ahead.